We interrupt this program to bring you...
Hi, I'm Paris Hilton.
Hi, I'm Paris Hilton. Hi, I'm Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton, daughter of Richard and Kathy Hilton, is an American socialite known for her iconic red carpet looks, her hit reality show The Simple Life, and her overall impact over a lot of the nostalgic trends we associate with the 2000s. The Hiltons are one of the richest families in Hollywood, being worth over $14 billion, and that's because Paris's great-grandfather, Conrad Nicholson Hilton, was the creator of Hilton Hotels. Paris made her name in the mainstream media through modeling. She was a model from about 1996 to 2002. While she didn't make much of a name for herself in the modeling world, she'd always make a big splash at red carpets, from the VMAs to Teen Choice Awards to birthday parties. If there was a big event, Paris would be there. In 2003, Paris Hilton and her best friend Nicole Richie starred in their hit reality show, The Simple Life, where they'd step out of their luxurious lives to live with a small-town family and experience life as they'd never known it. The show consisted of the girls doing chores, getting jobs, trying to cook their own food, and everything in between. Paris's popularity skyrocketed after this show, and her likeness was mirrored in nearly every 2000s chick flick. Common trends associated with Paris were things like miniskirts, low-rise jeans, slogan tees, Von Dutch trucker hats, tiaras, juicy couture tracksuits, and most of all, pink. With the rise of throwback and nostalgia pages on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, Paris Hilton's aesthetic not only dominated the 2000s, but heavily resonates with Gen Z. However, as we get lost in the nostalgia and impact of Paris Hilton, one thing that often gets overlooked is her racist and homophobic past. From spewing the F-word and declaring that most gay men have AIDS, to saying the N-word on video, Hilton's problematic history spans back quite a bit, which leads me to beg the question, should some 2000s icons be left in the 2000s? I think the way that we glamorize Y2K socialites like Paris Hilton not only stems from our obsession with nostalgia, but how we sensationalize evil women in mainstream entertainment media, especially rich, elite, and entitled white women. Characters like Regina George, Sharpay Evans, and Blair Waldorf being the most striking examples. Now, there's nothing wrong with liking a villain or an antagonist, especially when they're intentionally written to be charming, witty, and devilishly likable. Most of these characters are written with complex motivations that go beyond surface-level unkindness. They're usually insecure or troubled in some way, so trust, the layers of these characters aren't lost upon me. However, with the rise of phrases like girl boss and cunt, these characters are usually glamorized for their bitchy behavior alone. Now, I'd be lying if I said I didn't live for these girls and have a few of them on my mood board. But what happens when this obsession we have with mean girls on the screen translates to real life? Seeing as Paris Hilton has been the blueprint for archetypal mean girls in chick flicks, it only makes sense that people who love characters like Regina George would love the real-life version of Regina George. But what Paris's actions will show is that these mean girls that we stan and film aren't so amusing in real life.
Hollywood beauty Paris Hilton apparently is a hardcore racist.
The hotel heiress made some derogatory comments about gay men while she was in a New York City cab earlier this month.
Paris Hilton is one of many problematic it girls whose controversies are outshined by their lavish lifestyles. And it's easy for people to dismiss any criticism against her actions in the 2000s because times were different and she was young. But how deep does her problematic behavior truly run? In November 2005, a storage unit owned by Paris went up for auction after she failed to pay a $208 storage fee. The locker was sold and contained personal items such as diaries and archive footage. In 2007, the people who'd acquired the unit released archive footage of Paris and her sister at a New Year's Eve party in 2001, continuously using the F-word and the N-word, as well as referring to a partygoer as a broke hoodlum from Compton.
She's scared of me. She's like, let's get away from her. The fucking hoodlum broke poor bitch from like Compton. Like public school bitch. In a little black hole. I get up to the bus. We're cold. We're like two niggers.
When these tapes were still speculation and hadn't been released, Paris denied the claims that she was a racist, stating that she is not a person who discriminates against anyone ever. However, after the release of the footage, her then publicist released a statement saying that everyone has said something they regretted before, and she was clearly under the influence. She regrets her actions and isn't racist. Alongside this footage, one of her ex-longtime friends, Brandon Davis, did an interview with the National Enquirer where he said that she was always using the N-word and other slurs against minorities, and that she and her sister got off on making fun of others. Paris also received a restraining order in 2006 from an LA party planner named Brian Quintana after she flooded him with inappropriate phone calls calling him a lazy Mexican. But Paris and her team brushed off the restraining order, stating that Paris had no desire to socialize with him anyway. As you can see, Paris has a pattern of not only using racial slurs, but housing an elitist mindset and looking down on those she views as the lower echelon, who all just so happen to be minorities. Go figure. In 2011, American author Neil Strauss released a book titled Everyone Loves You When You're Dead, in which he recalled a conversation he had with Paris Hilton in 1999. In this conversation, Paris allegedly admitted to going on a date with an actor from the movie Saving Private Ryan, but then made an excuse to leave when she saw that he was black. Now, Paris's team 100% denied these claims, stating that they were absolutely untrue, but no legal action was ever taken against Strauss. One of her more well-known scandals happened in 2012 when audio of her in the back of a cab making derogatory remarks about gay men was leaked.
You might be on like the 6th floor and you live on
Gay guys are the horniest people in the world.
Gay guys are too much.
They're disgusting.
It's like, listen, my from you.
Dude, most of them probably
So
have AIDS. I would be so scared if I was a gay guy.
Her representative at the time attempted to spin the narrative, stating that she was merely remarking on the dangers of having unprotected sex and making oneself vulnerable to life-threatening diseases, but the public wasn't convinced. A few years later, in 2016, she revealed that she had voted for Donald Trump and described him as a very nice man. She also went as far as referring to the women who'd accused Donald Trump of sexual assault as attention seekers, claiming that some of them were opportunists who just wanted to get a settlement when nothing really happened to them. Now, she did apologize for these comments a year later, stating that she was deeply regretful and deeply sorry. So to recap, Paris Hilton is a white woman born into a multi-billion-dollar empire who frequently used racial and derogatory slurs, looked down on minorities and brown ethnic groups, made insensitive and homophobic remarks about gay men, and invalidated the experiences of assault victims, all while being regarded by millennials and Gen Z as an icon. Some may even consider her to be a borderline supremacist. To make matters worse, she's never directly apologized for most of her actions. In her 2020 documentary, This is Paris, she detailed never-before-heard stories about the extensive grooming, emotional, and physical abuse she endured at various boarding schools throughout her adolescence. I don't think that her past actions justify the abuse and sexualization she experienced as a child whatsoever. But I also don't think these atrocities absolve her of her past behaviors either. However, when confronted with her past racial remarks, she often uses her experiences at boarding schools as an excuse. In 2023, she released a book titled Paris, the Memoir, where she addressed the remarks, saying, "I look back on some of the things I said in the years after I left Provo in the throes of PTSD, and I'm mortified, because that means those creepy people got inside my head. I never really left them behind. Sometimes I was just wasted and being a moron. I don't remember half the stuff people say I said, but I'm not denying it because coming out of the system, I had a severely damaged filter." So as you can see, there's a lot of explanation as to where her controversial behavior could have stemmed from, but not much accountability or genuine remorse for her actions. It feels a bit manipulative. It's like she believes her trauma vindicates her actions, therefore an apology isn't necessary. It's like someone confronting you about cursing them out or hurting their feelings, and then you responding with, "Oh yeah, I was going through a lot." It's not a real apology. And perhaps she just doesn't care. Maybe she feels like her trauma accounts for her behavior and she was just young and dumb. Maybe she thinks she shouldn't have to apologize for things she did years ago. Perhaps she feels like she owes the world nothing. But seeing her surround herself with Black musicians and content creators while continuously being regarded as an icon, despite having a past that would get most TikTokers canceled in a millisecond, is frustrating to say the least. So, while there's nothing wrong with liking her aesthetic or being inspired by trends that she popularized, again, I must ask, should someone so problematic still be regarded as an icon for the impact they had nearly 2 decades ago? Or is it time that we accept it's okay to leave some 2000s icons in the 2000s?